Of all the places to be holding a music festival, your local library might be one of the last places you'd think of, more likely to shush you than to hail rock and roll. But that isn't stopping the second annual Verso Fest. With 2 concerts, a conversation between producer Steve Lillywhite and Talking Heads alum Chris Frantz, and a replica of the Grateful Dead's Wall of Sound PA system, Westport Library might get loud. E.J. Crawford and Brendan Toller of the Westport Library and Verso Studios join us for a left-of-dial conversation about libraries. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College. The Municipal Voice is a Connecticut Conference Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state-local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect consensus views of CCM or member municipal leaders. EJ, Brendan, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Let's have you guys tell us a bit about yourselves. I know, EJ, you work for the Westport Library proper, and Brennan, you work in Verso Studios, which we'll get to in a second. But I understand, Brennan, that you also have directed a couple documentaries. Is that true?
I have indeed. I started out in 2008 with a film called I Need That Record, which sort of chronicled the precarious state of independent record stores and vinyl culture at the time. And I'm happy to report that, every time I step into Red Scroll in Wallingford, it's jam-packed. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And then I made a movie for about 7 to 9 years on Danny Fields, who discovered the Ramones and Iggy Pop, and worked with the Doors, and lived with Edie Sedgwick. He lived one of the most interesting lives of the latter half of the 20th century, I think. So yeah. Obviously I turned my focus to him for many years, and it was just a great learning experience, even to just hang out with Danny Fields. But EJ also has a incredible background in journalism as well.
Very cool. So then that led you to Verso Studios, the documentary work?
I suppose so. Actually, it was playing tambourine in the Zambonis that led me to Westport Library. So I came in and I thought, what is this building? What is this facility? It's something that we sort of always dreamed about in, our ivory towers of academia, that there would be a place that was kind of a multimedia spaceship to have film screenings, concerts, performances, Q&As, and it's here at the Westport Library.
Very cool. And EJ, tell us about your role at the library.
So I'm the director of marketing communications for the library. Overseeing, essentially everything we do in terms of getting the word out to the world, both, the media and also our patrons. So that, encompasses social media, website, email, broadcast email, graphic design. So they're all kind of, part of our shop and part of the, part of the team. It's Brendan, myself, and we got a couple other folks too. All of whom do really great work. So we're very fortunate to have them behind us and to have, we need all the help, to promote Verso Fest. So it's great to have a team that can do that.
Very cool. Now, one of the more unique things, and the reason we have you guys on today, is to talk about Verso Studios. And Westport Library is billed as the first public library in the country to produce a vinyl record. So how did Verso Studios come about? Was this like one person's pipe dream, or was it just an idea that seemed good for the residents of Westport? How did this all come together?
So we had incredible success, and this is before my time at the library, but they had incredible success with the Makerspace program, which is, 3D printing. And there was a lot of attention and eyes on that. And they sort of found that they felt like they kind of peaked at a certain audience. So they thought, well, how can we take this expansion in library services and resources, and what could we apply it to? And rightfully, the executive director, Bill Harmer, who comes from Michigan, and he's been with the library for about 7 or 8 years, thought, well, media has kind of a limitless potential, whether it's production or theory or classes, or the other side, just pure entertainment, or stepping into different perspective in sharing, film screenings, performances. So we've been off and running. The transformation of the library, i.e. the renovation, ended in about 2019. And then, of course, we all know what happened then after that. So it sort of feels like we're getting our footing right now. And So Verso Studios is open to everyone. Doesn't even matter if you have a library card, although we'd love for you to have one. You should have one.
So much of what Verso is reimagining, what a library looks like for the 21st century, right? I mean,
Yeah.
We have a community, and that's obviously in Westport, but beyond Westport as well. That's they're seeking to kind of, every library is all about kind of like growth and learning and knowledge and kind of a shared community space, and that's what we really want, the Westport Library to be, and books are such an important part of that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we have an incredible group of people who work here, reference librarians and patron services, and all that is incredibly important to who we are and what we do still. But it's not the only thing that we do, and we also know that if we're going to meet people where they are, we got to be able to expand into other spaces, and having capability with Verso to do TV and broadcast and to do post-production and to have, a full like sound system and to have all those capabilities really gives us so much more that we can provide to the community. And again, that's Westport community and beyond, Fairfield County and beyond.
So just kind of beyond the kind of older idea of libraries, just a place where you keep books. Like
right.
In 2023, what is a library to the public, and what needs does it serve? I guess is part of the questions you're asking with the makerspace and Verso and these kind of non-traditional library facilities.
Right. 100%. And we have like a library of things where you can come and rent, a kayak or a microscope, or, we have meeting rooms so that people can come and work. I mean, we have people, you can see the same people every day, people who just use our library as an office. We have computers you can rent. And so, Verso is kind of the next kind of step with all that. It's kind of the logical progression. And we're fortunate to have the ability to do so. We're fortunate we did a major renovation in 2018, 2019 that allowed us to kind of build out these spaces to offer, these services. And, it also allows us to have programs and events that, a lot of libraries can't. I mean, it allows us to host, we can have a band on stage and 600 people in our forum, right?
Yeah.
These aren't things that, you traditionally think of a library being able to do, but it's things that we can do. And I think that brings so much more to our community and gives us so many opportunities.
When you did those renovations of the facility, the building itself, did you do that with something like this in mind? Like, was it in the plans originally to have a studio, or did that come after sort of the initial renovations?
I believe it was all part of the plan. They did a lot of consulting with this very generous person, Rob Fraboni, who at the time lived in Weston, Connecticut, as so many music industry people sort of hide away in Fairfield County. Rob Fraboni snuck into Gold Star Studios in the 60s and watched Phil Spector and Brian Wilson make Pet Sounds. He designed Bob Dylan and the band's Shangri-La studio in the 70s. He designed Keith Richards' studio down the road. So we had really incredible guidance and input. This
some
is a
serious
place that's just unlike anywhere. So
not just some amateur stuff, some real professionals.
No, it is
involved in.
By no means is it like just a janitor closet with a microphone. This is a incredible world-class recording studio and facility.
Yeah. So, I mean, you do have this kind of world-class facility with these amazing studio consoles that are used by, world-class artists all over the place. So what kind of experiences can people have using this stuff at Verso Studios?
So we have a couple different, easy access points. One is we have an opportunity called Crew Call that is led by our video studios manager, David Bibby. And that is an opportunity where it's, anyone from the community can come in and learn on all this incredible video and sound equipment, in exchange for support on our library programming. So, we need people to run camera. We need people to run sound. We need people to mix. And that's just a great multimedia training that's free, that's open to anyone, probably age 10 and up. So we have, young teens, and we have people who are retired working together. It's a really great intergenerational.
Anyone 10 and up, Westport, not Westport?
Anybody in the tri-state area, or you want to fly in, that's your prerogative. But
that's it. If you can get here, you're welcome.
Yes. And then, we also offer one-on-one training. Our audio studios manager, Travis Bell, does a lot of community hours where he'll spend 1 or 2 hours a month one-on-one with you to learn how to mix on the SSL console, which when you look at it looks like NASA control, but he'll walk you right through it and you can learn. I mean, it's so inspiring for me to walk in the studio some days and see, high school students just learning how to mix. When I was a teenager, I yearned so much to be able to learn this stuff, and there was so much mystery. Yeah. And now it's here, and you don't have to wonder. You can, get your hands right on it.
That's very cool. So thinking about the flip side of this, it is still a library. How do you handle things like a drum set in a library setting?
So we usually tell artists, we can't really do anything with live drums till after hours. So that being said, like most of the sessions tracks that you see online and that are featured on our vinyl compilation that'll be released in June, those were done all after hours. So we have free reign. Like it's like they give us the keys to the studio once everybody goes home. And
so the recording studio has a little bit different hours than the main library.
Yeah, although the recording studio does operate 9 to 5. We do a lot of audiobooks, voice work, a lot of therapist meditations, singing bowl recordings. There's a lot of things you can do without live drums.
Very cool. And if someone was interested in learning more about this, or maybe, finding a time slot or something, is there a way they do that?
I would say a good general primer and with all the contact information, you can go to westportlibrary.org/Verso.
And they'll find what they need to
That's right.
explore more right there. That's very cool.
Yes.
The other thing is it's also not just a music production space, correct? It's also video production?
Yes. So our programming is very extensive. We program almost every night of the year, and that's everything from book talks to community, Westport local events to things like the Malloy lecture or the exchange, annual events that we have. There's also Story Fest and of course the upcoming Verso Fest. So, a lot of our video is in support of that. We have a crew that'll do a multi-cam shoot of these events that will later be posted usually on our YouTube channel. But then for, local filmmakers in the scene, and just creators in general, we have a post-production facility that's open to anyone 4 hours a day, 12 hours a week, arts, education, nonprofit. As long as you're not a pure commercial endeavor, you can be in there taking advantage of Adobe Creative Suite, Final Cut Pro, Ultimate Pro Tools, Ableton, Logic, all of this software that, at least for me, I mean, I'm sitting in the nexus of my kind of creative world. You can see the band equipment behind me, and I'm doing the Zoom on the computer where I do all this work. I can't update and keep that kind of roster of software on my computer. So it's good to know that there is a place where creatives can go and just be supported.
It's very cool. So
it also really provides kind of like a start to finish experience, so people can come in and they can sit down with David or Travis and start some of their work. Then they can move to the post-production suite and maybe finish what they're doing. And, again, it creates that continuum. And then for people who, just don't have the technology at home, can come in to use a post-production suite to maybe work on whatever project it might be. And again, we have people from, 13 to 80 who are in there doing work, which is a really awesome thing to see.
That's very cool. So different experience levels. Like if you don't know a lot, someone can help you out and show you how to use it. If you do, you can get access maybe to some equipment or software that you wouldn't be able to at home. So there's a lot of options for people of all kind of skill levels and needs. You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM.
I don't wanna be a cowboy, but you leave me no
Obviously the space is very cool, but one of the exciting things that's coming up that we're here to talk about is Verso Fest. It's an annual music and media conference that you guys are doing. And this is the second time you're doing it. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had a good launch last year. Over 2,300 people came through the door, and that was 3 days. We had, the band Led Zeppelin play. We
Hmm.
had Michael Jai White, who's a, international but also local filmmaker, talk
Hmm.
about his vision for gigantic studios. Uh, we had journalist Joe Hagan talk about his kind of path and trajectory in music journalism as he writes for Vanity Fair, New York Times, and he wrote
Hmm.
the original Jan Wenner biography, which is great, Sticky Fingers. So we're excited to do it again, and I think once again, it's like if people just need to experience it, similar to that they need to see Verso Studios in person to really grasp what it is. I mean, this to me, Verso Fest is like a very small South by Southwest on the East Coast that I don't know you can really get anywhere besides maybe CMJ. So, there's film events, there's fashion events, there's photography, there's just incredible offerings from all experts and media makers in the tri-state area.
Very cool. And this is the second year. Would this have been the third or fourth year if there wasn't a pandemic? Because you said
I
you
would
opened
say
in
so, yeah.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was the first one was kind of a delayed sort of celebration opening
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, I
Yeah,
think we sort of started with the Lockdown Festival, which was, a lot of band performances that people could enjoy remotely.
that's very cool. Are some of those performances still available online and stuff if someone
I
wanted to check that
believe
stuff
so.
out?
Our
Yeah,
YouTube is chock full of treasures and and videos. So I highly recommend that people go and do some digging on the Westport Library YouTube.
Yeah,
very
and it's
cool.
just YouTube at Westport Library.
There you
And
go.
again, it has all kind of past things. It has a lot of the promotional videos, most of which Brendan's put together, which are, pretty fantastic to get a
Hmm.
look and a feel for, what this year's Verso Fest is going to be, because it really is taking a lot of, kind of the goodwill we built from last year and
Hmm.
also our learnings from last year and making, a festival that's, we think bigger and better with, panels and workshops and concerts and really truly whatever it is you're looking for, there's going to be something that we can deliver at this year's Verso Fest.
Very cool. So let's talk about the actual concerts here. So on day one, right, you've got Sunflower Bean and DJ Hysteria, and on day
Hysterical.
two,
Yeah.
Hysterica. And on day two, you've got the Smithereens, Amelia Kay, Spicer, and DJ Miriam Lina. What was it like to reach out to, these artists and be like, hey, your next gig could be at the public library?
This is always kind of, I think, one of the coolest things that we get to do is, kind of explaining to people of what this space is. Because I think, it can come across as like a novelty, right? Like I'm going to play a
Mhm.
library. We're like, but we are a library, like first and foremost. But you got to see the space. And we have a deck that we send out to everyone, so you can really get into to really imagine like exactly where you're going to be. Like we have an 18 by 10 video board behind you. We have a full size stage. We have an open space that can fit 400 people seated, 600 people standing. It is a concert venue, and
You're not playing in the storybook corner or anything, or
right, exactly. We're not tucking you away in a little room, and I think to be able to offer that is pretty cool on our end, and I think that would be for a lot of bands a really cool experience. I mean, I can't imagine that there's a lot of opportunities for them to do something like it.
and then also on Saturday, April 1st, there's going to be a discussion between producer Steve Lillywhite and Chris Frantz, who's the drummer for the Talking Heads and Tom Tom Club. So what should people be expecting from that event?
I think you're going to get to hear some stories of yore. I mean, especially since Chris and Steve worked together on the Talking Heads. I believe it was the Naked album, so kind of later in their career. But Steve is, I mean, he's produced the biggest albums of '80s, '90s, and the aughts, right? I mean, you have everybody from U2 to the Psychedelic Furs to Morrissey to Guster to the Killers. So, I mean, I think that if you're even just interested in how pop music gets made, it's a worthy conversation to lend your ear and eyes to. I'm excited for that. It's going to be very funny. Chris is a great moderator and a host, and he's a great champion of the library. Look, I mean, he lives in Westport, and so much of the goodwill and support that we get are from people like him that just want to see emerging bands get a footing, and also for libraries to be redefined as sort of community spaces for the 21st century.
Yeah, it is sort of cool that he's not just the celebrity appearance person, but he is, in fact, a member of the community.
That's right.
And as we said, he'll be back Saturday night for we're doing the Malloy Lecture in the Arts, which unfortunately had to get rescheduled. We found a place for it at Verso Fest, so he'll be back at 7 p.m. on Saturday night talking to Richard Butler and the Psychedelic Furs, which is again kind of a cool, kind of how things come together since Steve had produced one of the Psychedelic Furs albums. So
yeah,
it's a pretty cool experience to have all those things happen in not only in one festival but on one day.
Yeah, totally. And if people are interested in these performances and the keynote, how can they find out more about that? How can they attend?
So westportlibrary.org/VersoFest. And I really just want to reiterate that it is, there's a concerts Thursday, Friday, but Saturday and Sunday is a packed, dense, couple of days where you have everything from rock photography to fashion to producing to film. I mean, we have an Alice Cooper rare museum exhibition upstairs, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, so
buying a bunch of stuff from Canada. So yeah.
Dr. Drury's Snakes, the Museum
Yes.
of Alice Cooper artifacts and stuff. Who's the big Alice Cooper fan at Westport Library?
So as it stands, once again, it's we had a couple of events, most notably the music oral history with Joshy Joe Armstead last year, and you just watched it during the Q&A. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Dennis Dunaway gets up to ask Joshy a question, then followed by Mark Knopfler, another Rock and Roll Hall of Famer with the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. So when you put that goodwill out there and you program really insightful and meaningful events, this is the wave that comes back to you, or at least you hope. So Dennis, lives in Fairfield County, and he was impressed by what the library was trying to accomplish. He was getting where we were headed and what we were doing. And he came to us with a host of ideas, and we just said yes to all three of them. And we're really excited, and that starts with his supergroup Blue Coop playing on March 10th. So if you're an Alice Cooper or Blue Oyster Cult fan or 70s rock fan, please come out March 10th. That's our first kind of fundraising concert for Verso Fest.
Very cool. So, with the 60s and 70s rock fans, but another cool thing that's going on is on Sunday, there's a panel that's going to be including DJ Grand Wizard Theodore, who is known for inventing the scratch in hip hop, and right there at the very formation of hip hop. That's kind of wild that we get to do something like that. That's like bringing up the guy that invented, the piano or something. So what's it like to have this panel, kind of living history for hip hop and certain genres to be able to get these kind of people in?
Well, I mean that, it's funny because I did a presentation to our teen board last night, and I said, look, if I can stress one thing, hip hop is such a dominating force in mainstream culture. And I know a lot of you that I'm talking to are probably fans of it. And you will never see something like this, never mind at a library, probably again. I mean, there are, of course, many fantastic hip hop 50th celebrations, but this is very special because the mission of Legends, Beats, and Grooves, who program this block, is to show where hip hop DJing originated and came from. So you're going to see people operate 2 turntables, and this is all going to be projected on our 18-foot HD screen.
Yeah.
So you're going to really get to see like true wizardry. I mean, I'm a DJ, and I was looking at some of the YouTube videos of this stuff, and I do not know how they're doing this or what even they're technically doing, because it's so fast. And I think to be able to see the originations of culture like that is incredibly powerful and inspiring. And who knows if, some teen just wanders in there and they see this and it inspires them and sets them on a whole new track.
Yeah.
That's what this festival in Verso is all about.
Yeah, it is pretty cool that we get to do things like that. And that, being where we are in Connecticut, we're, 50 years and maybe less than 50 miles from the epicenter, the genesis of hip hop in New York. It's great stuff.
Yeah, and to
Um,
have that collection of legends be in our building is amazing. It's there's sometimes where I know Brent and I had a discussion during this festival where like I can't believe we got these people to come here.
yeah,
Like I can't believe like we can't believe we got this person. We can't believe we got this person. They're all going to be here, and it's 4 days. It's I don't know. It's cool. It's one of those things when you're in the middle of it. Sometimes you don't appreciate it until you take a step back and we're looking at the poster and we're like, this is a real like awesome collection of talented and interesting people who are going to be coming to the Westport Library for
yeah.
4 days.
A collection of people who could only exist in this moment in time in this place.
Yeah, precisely.
It's very cool. So there's another cool thing that you guys are doing as part of this. Tell me a little bit about the Grateful Dead's Wall of Sound.
That is Anthony Cosilla's, big life's project probably. So, we found out about him through Verso connections. Rich Wenning, Spread Music Now, and he
Mhm.
said, "You guys have got to check this guy's project out." And basically, in 1974, Owsley, the famous Owsley prankster, uh,
Mhm.
sometimes Grateful Dead sound technician roadie, uh, started wiring together a huge sound system for the Grateful Dead so they could play in front of bigger audiences. So this is really the originations of modern amplification,
Yeah.
what we know is concert sound systems. So Anthony thought during the pandemic, what if somebody tried to rebuild this full scale?
Yeah.
And he realized the cost and was like, okay, well, why don't I just start with, a 1/6 scale? Or
Mhm.
so the one we're gonna have is 10 by 14. It's a 1/4 scale. I think over 500 speakers all rigged up. So that is going to play music intermittently through all the programming Saturday and Sunday,
Mhm.
and maybe even at the concerts as well. But to have even though the speakers are kind of small because it's
Yeah.
it's 10 by 14 and it is 500 of them, that many speakers sounds incredible.
Yeah.
So you could only imagine. So I think for deadheads and gearheads, it's kind of a real dream come true. And that'll be there
Yeah.
Thursday through Sunday at Verso Fest.
A lot of the stuff we've talked about, it's very cool, but it wouldn't be all that strange or unusual sounding at a regular, music festival. But we're talking about an event that's being held at a public library. In 2023, we're a decade removed from Bob Dylan's Nobel Prize, music and, especially pop music being tossed off as, just entertainment. As a library, kind of doing this stuff and having the talks and the stuff like that, are you arguing that music is, more than that, that it's a crucial part of the cultural landscape that deserves to be paid attention to, just like the literature and the books in the library?
It predates language, music.
You
And
think?
I was just watching a Q&A with Scorsese yesterday, and he was saying, think of all the art forms. I mean, it really is music. It doesn't really it's your voice, it's rhythm. It's right there if you want it to be. Um, you know, Writing is similar, and obviously libraries are known as a repository of books, but I think that we're rightfully extending the definition of what you can experience and what you can access at a library. And I've had many people say that, Verso is ahead of its time because not a lot of libraries have this technology and access to it, but it's also of its time. You're in that space and you think, this is what it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and again, it's all a form of artistic expression, right? I mean,
yeah.
it's I don't think that we need to think of things, in any kind of limited capacity. This is we can have books and literature and music and all kinds of creation and art and all
Mhm.
this living together. I mean, they all kind of make sense. I think they're all kind of part of the same world, and to have the opportunity where people kind of experience all these things together, or
Mhm.
you can pick the thing that you're most interested in, or all of this is it's a really great amalgam, and we think it's a really cool opportunity to learn, to experience, to grow. These are all things that libraries have always strived to accomplish. So it seems like a very logical kind of extension of our mission.
What do you see as the future of Verso Studios? Now that you've done a vinyl record, are you looking to win a Grammy or something? Like what's the future of the facility?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of yes, right? I mean, I think why not continue to kind of not push the envelope in a crazy way, but kind of expand the possibilities of who we are and what we can do. I mean, again, David, who works on TV studio, talks about winning an Emmy with the Crew Call folks, and we have opportunities to hopefully build from this, for future records and future festivals, and as Brennan spoke of earlier, as we continue to hopefully do great and interesting work, we'll continue to build goodwill and bring more and more people in, and expand the possibility of what all these things can be. I don't think that it makes sense to put a limit on ourselves. I think we're going to explore everything there is to offer, and see where Verso takes us, and where our community wants it to go. I mean, that's at the end of the day, we want to build something that people want to take part in. That's the whole purpose of what a library is.
Great. Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, the technology is there, the technical expertise is there, and that can be anywhere. I mean, look, I have some modicum of that around me, as I was discussing before, but what it takes is people with ideas and concepts and dedication, and that's our only limit is, people from the community coming to us with ideas and sharing their artistic expression, their perspective, their thoughts. And it builds on one another. So really, Verso Fest is only in its second year. It's a great driver for where it sets us as a establishment and institution. And I think it's just hopefully going to snowball. That's how these things work, right? So I think we're off to a great start. And by all means, if you're a media creator or just plain interested in process, please check out everything that we have to offer.
Great. And just for everybody at home, one more time, Verso Fest is coming up when and where?
It is coming up. Verso Fest starts March 30th through April 2nd. And you can find out about it westportlibrary.org/VersoFest.
Great stuff. Well, EJ, Brendan, thank you so much for coming today and talking with us about all the work that's going on at Verso Fest and Verso Studios, and of course, Westport Library.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
We'd like to thank our guests, EJ Crawford and Brendan Toller. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College. Learn more at gatewayct.edu and housatonic.edu. The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Kevin Maloney is our executive producer, Christopher Gilson is our producer, Mary Draws is on the boards, and I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like, and watch out for our CCM chat series on our YouTube page.